Okay, hi, I'm Madeline Faber. I'm managing editor of High Ground News, and I'm here with Marcia Lewis. She's the director of the Memphis Housing Authority, which is undertaking a really big project right now, the redevelopment of Foote Homes, known as South City.
Yes.
Yeah, so for people who may not be familiar with that term, what is South City? What are its boundaries? Because it's bigger than what people think it is.
It is. Foote Homes is like the nucleus of the project, and it was a $30 million grant funded by HUD, and South City goes all the way down to Front Street. It goes over to, I think is it MLK? And then it comes all the way back down to Vance. And then, let me see, I know I'm missing a boundary, but is it G. Patterson?
Maybe
I know I'm missing a boundary. Yeah. But it's huge. It's huge. And so the biggest thing about this is the fact that we're doing a neighborhood.
Right. So you're not just redeveloping housing, it's everything around it.
Yeah. Everything. Yeah. The Hope 6 grants in the past were focused on obsolete public housing. And while the nucleus of this is removing obsolete public housing and replacing it with quality housing, it also impacts a greater area. They hoped that Hope 6 would do that, but it didn't do that.
And why is that? It seems like there's been kind of a shift in the way people think about public housing.
Well, I think that, the intent was there, that thinking that if you did a major development in an area, that it would have some trickle down or trickle up effects or trickle out effects and would impact a greater area. But if the money is not there, if you don't put seeds into the area, then you can't expect an area that has undergone a lot of transition and maybe has lost a lot of population and businesses to grow itself.
Yeah.
So this helps to grow. This helps to put the integral pieces back into what makes a neighborhood, a grocery store, a health facility, a school, a park.
And those are some of the seeds that will be in South City?
Yes. We are in the process of having a marketing study done by IGA, one of the major grocery chains, for us to see the feasibility of where and how and if we can do a grocery store in this footprint.
That would be such a relief to those residents.
Yes, because it's a food desert.
Yeah.
So, and we know that. We depend upon what we have. And while it's great to have convenience stores that are there to help meet needs, it would be better if we could be more holistic about how we, provide the goods, the foods, the needs for the people that are going to live there. The schools, early childhood education is a component. The park, Robert Church Park, is a big part of the development, potentially looking at a potential amphitheater, tying into what is going on downtown, attached to the FedEx Forum, making this a connection to, not an extension from.
I see. And so no one lives in Foote Homes now. Everyone's been relocated like end of last year. Could you talk a little bit about MHA's partnership with Memphis Hope and sort of the people aspect of what's going on with the former residents?
Well, Memphis Hope, through its affiliate Urban Strategies, Inc., is providing what we call our people services. They are providing counseling, they're providing case management, they're providing education and health assistance to the residents. They helped us with the relocation of the residents, and they are still attached by case management services to the residents who relocated from Foote Homes. Those residents we've divided the city into what we call 5 hubs. And in those pods or hubs, they are having the ability to meet, to get follow-up case management, to be provided information about employment opportunities, to continue to work with them, to build their capacity for work skills, for educational success. And they are helping us to stay connected. A big part of this is so that we will continue that connection process that will enable them to come back and be successful while they're away, and then come back to the newly renovated, newly constructed units that will be there.
Yeah. So Foote Homes was around 420 units. And now you're looking at, those are obviously an active demolition.
Right.
And you're looking at building up, is it 712 units of new housing?
It'll be 712 in the entire footprint of what we call either replacement housing or new housing. And about 300 or so of that will be on the footprint of Foote Homes. And then the remainder will be in other forms. For instance, we're working with partners out there who are developing other rental apartments that will be walk-ups. They will be single-family homes. There's opportunities for grants for homeowners to get repairs done on their homes. So all of those numbers will count in what we will consider the replacement housing, or the housing that's coming back.
And when will all of that be completed? I know we've seen kind of some changes in the start dates and end dates.
Yes. Well, the demolition has just begun. The east side, which is the east of Danny Thomas, I think the units are probably completely down. They were about, I think Monday, they were about, probably about 80% down on that side. And that will be the starting point. And then we will clear the land, and then we will shift over. They will begin construction on that side, but at the same time, we will shift over and begin construction or begin demolition on the west side of Danny Thomas. All of this process is a process we're looking at taking us about 4 years to complete.
In its entirety.
Yeah. We're about almost 2 years in, but we're making up some time because of the transitions that occurred with management and with several changes that were going on. At the time when the grant was awarded, we got a little bit behind, and we're making up ground as we go. And
there were some environmental findings also, right?
Yeah, we had some environmental issues that caused us to stop and, provide our due diligence and making sure that we had a safe work environment, had a safe living environment until we started the process, and then did the safety measures that were necessary and required by the government to remove the areas that were impacted. It wasn't like 100% environmentally impacted, but there were what we called hot spots throughout the site. And so we had to make sure that we treated those in the proper way.
And just looking at the history of Foote Homes, right? It was built in the 1940s during segregation, and it's seen so many different kind of changes in attitude of housing policies. We saw, de-densification in the 90s, and then everything with Hope 6 just across the street. And now we're seeing this change, which is mixed income housing that has a greater emphasis on the neighborhood. As head of MHA, how do you see public housing continuing to evolve in Memphis? Do you think we'll be relying on it less and less in the future?
Well, sometimes we're driven by the regulations and the funds that we receive. So the Choice Neighborhood Grant, which is the grant that we're working out of right now, is an evolution of the Hope 6 grant. The Hope 6 grant started by focusing on obsolete public housing. And the Hope 6 grant, the Choice Neighborhood Grant takes that to the new level by including an entire neighborhood. At the same time, we're also looking at the platform of public housing that is owned and managed by a housing authority, versus a voucher platform, which allows an individual to go and seek housing anywhere that a voucher is accepted. So I think the evolution will continue. We also are utilizing a program called RAD. It's the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program that HUD is promoting. RAD is a program that allows you to take public housing and basically transfer it to a voucher platform. By doing that, public housing, we get two pots of money, operating funds and capital funds. And each year, those pots are decreased more and more. So what happens is you end up with a housing development or a building that has a lot of needs that you don't have enough money to meet.
Because the buildings get older.
They get older,
repairs.
and you can't keep up.
Yeah.
And you can't borrow money for those repairs. You can't use them as collateral.
Yeah.
So you end up, putting Band-Aids on things, and some things keep getting bigger and bigger until it's a bigger problem than you can handle. And they turn into an obsolete building or development that requires demolition.
Like Foote Homes.
Like Foote Homes. So now with RAD, if you transfer the public housing funds and the capital funds into what we call a housing assistance payment or a HAP payment, not only can we get additional financing to provide needs and to fix the things and to deal with big issues versus small ones, it provides another set of tools or resources that we haven't had in the past. And wherever possible, HUD is encouraging housing authorities to look at the feasibility of doing RAD, because, the future, the crystal ball shows us that it's not going to get better. We're not going to get more.
More money, you mean?
More money. We're going to get less. So we've got to come up with other options. So that's the next step that we're looking at, is the viability of switching from public housing to vouchering. If we do that, then public housing as we know it will go away. But we will still have affordable housing. We will still have housing for people who have a need based on their income. And that's what, I think sometimes people are afraid that we're going out of the business of providing housing for people in lower income ranges. And that's not what we're doing. We're trying to provide more with less for people who need it.
Yeah. And just one brief point that I thought was so interesting. The new South City development has a couple aspects about it that are like green, sustainable, and also technology based. Could you talk a little bit about what makes that kind of public housing of the future, as it were?
Well, we are trying to provide inclusion, digital inclusion for our families. We know that statistics tell us that, kids that are introduced and have opportunities to use the internet and have access to computers and have access to information are more successful in their educational careers and in their own sustained careers as they go through life. And so we have started the process by doing what we're calling a Connect Home, but we're also looking at the potential of seeing how we can go ahead and integrate a wireless area network into the construction of this particular development. HUD has provided the guidance, the go-ahead, the green light, the encouragement, and the push to do the same. And at the same time, we're also trying to do as much as we can with green building. We know that, here we are dealing with environmental issues from developments that occurred over time where environmental issues and concerns weren't on the table. And now we have come back and have to deal with those. And we know that those affect the health and the life, the longevity of life for people who live in our development. So we're using green building methods. We're hoping to get LEED certified. We want to do energy conservation in the way we do the work. And then we want to provide energy measures that will help us have cost savings for people who live in those homes, and also for the part of the house that we have to pay for, because we subsidize the the cost, and we subsidize the rent of those units. And so we also want that to be an integral part of that. We've done it in some of the other developments that we've done, where we have developed a green certification or green guidelines for people who live there, and we're going to replicate that in this area and hopefully go a little bit further.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Marcia. Thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.